Ever wondered how you can effectively protect your plants from pests and diseases with a solution you can make at home? Stick around as we dive into the art of creating Bordeaux mixture, a time-tested gardening ally for healthier plants. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to unlock the secrets of one of the absolute most resilient and historic garden protectors out there.
If you spent any time battling stubborn fungal infections in your garden, you've probably asked yourself this exact question. How can you effectively protect your plants from devastating pests and diseases with a homemade solution? Well, today we're setting up a bit of a problem-solution framework. We've got the problem, those incredibly frustrating fungal diseases like downy mildew and late blight, and today we are going to master the recipe for the ultimate solution. So here's our agenda for today's explainer. First, we'll meet Bordeaux mixture, then talk safety first. After that, we'll go through the step-by-step preparation, cover application and practical tips, discuss environmental considerations, and wrap up with our conclusion and best practices.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Meet Bordeaux mixture.
So what exactly is Bordeaux mixture? Well, it's a super powerful, time-tested fungicide and bactericide. And honestly, its origin story is pretty cool. It was accidentally discovered way back in 1882 by a botanist named Sulfate in the Bordeaux region of France. He actually noticed that grapevines, which were sprayed with a mixture of copper sulfate and lime, originally just to deter grape thieves, believe it or not, were surprisingly free of downy mildew. This mixture acts as a preventative shield. It's like a literal suit of armor for your plants. When a fungal spore lands on a leaf coated with this stuff, the copper actually disrupts the spore cell membrane and just completely stops it from germinating. So it's really your first line of defense against devastating diseases like late blight on tomatoes and black spot on roses.
Now, you might be wondering why go to the trouble of making it at home. When we compare homemade Bordeaux mixture to those off-the-shelf fixed copper sprays, the biggest difference by far is persistence. The chemical reaction that happens when you mix copper sulfate and lime fresh at home creates this sort of gelatinous precipitate, and that means it really sticks to your plants. It has incredible staying power, even during heavy winter rains. While fixed copper is definitely easier to store and a little bit safer for tender spring growth, freshly made Bordeaux mixture is the heavy-duty, long-lasting champion for dormant seasons and tough weather.
Moving on to Section 2, Safety First.
Now listen, this is absolutely crucial. These raw ingredients, specifically the copper sulfate and the slaked lime, are highly toxic and corrosive in their concentrated forms. So you must physically armor yourself before you even think about armoring your plants. We are talking about a proper dust and mist filtering respirator, completely sealed safety goggles, and chemical-resistant gloves. You're also going to want to wear protective clothing that completely covers your skin, because this mixture will permanently stain anything it touches with a really stubborn blue-green color.
I really cannot emphasize this enough. Failing to wear a respirator is just not an option here. Long-term exposure to these dusts and mists can actually lead to a condition known in the agricultural world as vineyard sprayer's lung, or VSL. We're talking serious chronic respiratory symptoms like severe coughing and chest constriction. The chemistry here is entirely safe for you to handle if you follow the rules, which just proves exactly why this safety gear simply cannot be skipped.
All right, let's get to the fun part. Section 3, Step-by-step preparation. So here is your standard 1% recipe, and this is perfect for most home garden applications. You're going to need about 3.5 ounces or 100 grams of copper sulfate crystals. You'll often see this called bluestone. You'll also need an equal amount, so 3.5 ounces of slaked lime, which is calcium hydroxide. You'll be dissolving these in a total of 2.6 gallons or 10 liters of water. But hey, here is a massive warning for you. Never use metal containers for this. Copper sulfate is highly corrosive to metal and it will completely ruin the chemical reaction, not to mention your bucket. Use strong plastic or wooden containers only.
Now, the preparation actually relies on a very specific rhythm. You're going to create two separate stock solutions first. Start by dissolving your copper sulfate into exactly half of your water, so that's 1.3 gallons. A quick pro tip, using warm water helps the copper dissolve way faster. Then, in your second bucket, mix the slaked lime into the remaining 1.3 gallons of water to create this milky white liquid. Finally, you're going to slowly pour the blue copper solution into the white lime solution, making sure you stir constantly with a wooden paddle.
Okay, listen closely because this is the golden rule of our recipe. You must always pour the copper into the lime. If you accidentally reverse this order and pour the lime into the copper, you're going to create a grainy, heavy, unstable mix with large particles. It will instantly clog your garden sprayer and honestly, even worse, it can severely scorch the leaves of your plants. But pouring copper into lime, that yields that beautiful, pale sky blue milky suspension we are looking for.
Up next is Section 4, Application and Practical Tips.
Right before you spray, I've got this fascinating historical and practical tip for you straight from the 1800s. It's called the iron nail test. Take a clean iron nail and just dip it right into your final bucket of Bordeaux mixture for about 30 seconds. If you pull the nail out and it is turned a shiny copper color, that means there is too much free acidic copper in the solution, and that will absolutely burn your plants. But the fix is super easy. Just stir in a little more lime, about 1 tablespoon at a time, until a newly dipped nail comes out completely clean. It's just an amazing low-tech way to guarantee a perfect pH balance.
When you're finally ready to spray, remember that you're on a ticking clock. You need to use the mixture immediately because those suspended particles will actually start to settle at the bottom of your sprayer within an hour. You really want to make sure you coat both the top and the bottom of the leaves until they are practically dripping wet. And make sure you apply this when temperatures are below 85 degrees Fahrenheit to avoid leaf scorch. This stuff is fantastic for protecting grapes, tomatoes, and stone fruits. Just remember, this is a protective film. It's a shield that blocks new spores. It is not a systemic cure that actually goes inside the plant. So thorough coverage is absolutely vital, and you'll definitely need to reapply every 10 to 14 days, or right after a heavy rain washes your shield away.
Let's transition to Section 5, Environmental Considerations.
So, we need to talk about the reality of using heavy metals in the garden. Elemental copper does not break down. Every single time you spray, some of that copper washes off the leaves and eventually enters your soil. Over years of repeated use, this leads to something called copper toxicity. The copper actually binds with phosphates in the soil, forming these insoluble compounds. And what that means is that even if you are fertilizing perfectly, your plants can no longer absorb vital phosphorus. Overspraying can slowly, effectively poison your soil's long-term fertility.
But hey, don't let that discourage you. Instead, let it empower you to be a responsible steward of your garden. There are incredibly actionable solutions to mitigate this soil damage. First off, limit your applications per season. Don't just spray it every week purely out of habit. Make sure to alternate your treatments from year to year. And even better, try to rotate your Bordeaux mixture with modern biological fungicides like Bacillus subtilis. Those fight off diseases naturally without adding any heavy metals to the soil. Basically, use this powerful mixture only as a targeted preventative when conditions demand it, and never ever as a careless blanket spray.
And finally, Section 6, Conclusion and Best Practices.
Okay, here's your rapid recap to make sure you walk away from this explainer confident and informed. Bordeaux mixture is a powerful, highly persistent shield against fungal disease. But because the ingredients are toxic and corrosive, wearing your safety gear, especially your respirator, is absolutely non-negotiable. When you're mixing it up, remember the golden rule. Always pour your copper solution into your lime solution. Mix it fresh, test the pH with an iron nail, and apply it thoroughly to your plants. And finally, always keep your long-term soil health in mind by rotating your treatments.
It really is a fascinating balance, isn't it? Bridging old-world agriculture with responsible modern gardening. So as you look ahead to your next growing season, I've got to ask, will you rely entirely on the convenience of modern sprays, or will you gear up and master the 140-year-old chemistry of Bordeaux mixture to defend your harvest? The choice and the health of your garden is entirely in your hands.
This explainer is for informational purposes only. Please ensure that you research local regulations and consider the environmental impact before using Bordeaux mixture. Always prioritize safety and responsibility in your gardening practices.